Conditions. Hopefully you followed all the steps in section 1 and have VS Code installed and you cloned the repository for the course. If you haven't, then jump back to lecture 2 and follow the steps to be ready to code along with the video. If you open VS Code and open the workspace for this course and select the Explorer button, the top one on the left, you should see a file layout similar to this. I say similar because I'm still developing the content, so as I open folders you'll see more folders in your version of the resources. Notice the resources includes a complete and a start folder. For every example in the course, the code along version is in the start folder, and if you get stuck, there's a complete version in the complete folder. To work along with this video, I want you to open the file index.html in the folder start lecture 2_4. This is a very simple HTML page. I'm assuming you have some familiarity with HTML. An HTML page has a series of tags. A tag starts with a name inside angle brackets and ends with the same name inside the same style of brackets, only including a /. Tags can be nested inside other tags. Here we have HTML as the outer tags, and inside the HTML tag is a head tag and a body tag. VS Code allows you to expand a tag, something that can be very useful as the code becomes more complex. Before we enter any code, I'd like to show you how to view the pages. As advised in lecture 2, you should have Web Server for Chrome installed. Open it and click the Choose Folder button. Select the root of the resources. That's important, it must be the root. The folder we're looking at now. Then press the blue link here. By default it will open index.html in the folder you selected when you press the Choose Folder button. For this video, select lecture 2_4 start. You'll be totally unimpressed since all you'll see is a white screen. Bear with me here, it'll get better. Rome wasn't built in a day, as they say. Now open the developer console. Remember the keyboard shortcut? Ctrl+Shift+J on Windows, Command+Option+J on a Mac. Now we're ready to enter some code. Over in VS Code, add a script tag. VS Code will automatically add the closing tag. Later in the course we'll use separate files for the JavaScript, but in this section we're going to add our code to the index.html page, and for this the code must be in a script block. We're going to enter a new function. We'll call it compare, and it has two parameters. Remember, they go inside the brackets, A and B. Now the condition. This video is called Conditions, and this is our first. We use the keyword if followed by brackets. What we enter inside the brackets must evaluate to a boolean. Hold on, evaluate, boolean, what does that mean? It means whatever we enter inside the brackets has to be either true or false. As an example, enter A is less than B. Angle brackets left is the less than operator. Following the closing bracket, we enter curly braces. Strictly speaking, if we only have a single line following the brackets, then we don't need curly braces, but I highly recommend you always use them. Inside the curly braces, enter console.log A is less than B. Remember to save your work. Then back in Chrome, refresh the page and enter compare 10, 20. If you enter the code correctly, you should get the response A is less than B in the console. What just happened? You wrote your first real JavaScript code. When you entered compare 10, 20, A is 10 and B is 20. The program reaches the line if A is less than B, and it reads this as if 10 is less than 20. 10 is less than 20, so the statement inside the brackets is true. and so the program moves to inside the curly braces, and this prints the line A is less than B in the console. Great! But what if we enter compare 2010? Now A is greater than B, and so we don't get a response in the console. We just get undefined because the function does not return a value. When we have an if condition, we can add a block of code that happens when the condition is false. To do that, we use the keyword else, then curly braces, and this time in the curly braces enter console.log A is greater than B. Save the file, refresh the browser, and enter compare 2010. This time you see A is greater than B. But what if we enter compare 1010? Again we get A is greater than B, but A equals B. Why do we see the message A is greater than B? Because A is not less than B, so the condition A less than B in the brackets evaluates to false, and execution jumps to the else block. We can fix this. As well as if and else blocks, we can add an else if block, like this. Before the else, add an else if. Notice the space between the words else and if. Now we can enter a new condition between brackets and a new code block between curly braces. In the condition enter A equal B. Notice we have two equal signs. This is not a mistake. In JavaScript and many other programming languages, two equal signs means we're testing for equality, whereas a single equal sign means we're assigning a value to the variable on the left of the equal sign. Despite looking similar, they're not the same at all, and this is a common cause of bugs in code. Mistakenly using a single equals when double equals was required. In the code block, enter console.log A equals B. If you save your work and go back and refresh the browser, now when you enter compare 1010, you'll get the response A equals B. What if we try to use a value that isn't a number? JavaScript will try to convert the value to a number. So compare 10 in double quotes 10 will be fine. But for compare 10 as a word, 10, you'll get A is greater than B. Not because A is greater than B, simply because A is not a number. So the JavaScript processor cannot evaluate A is less than B or A double equals B, and so these conditions are evaluated as false. At the start, add if is NaN-A, then in curly braces add console.log A is not a number, and add else before the original opening if keyword. Is NaN is a built-in JavaScript function that tests as a value is not a number. For a string that can be converted to a number, the function will return false, but if it cannot be converted, the function returns true. You know the form. Save, refresh browser, and enter compare 10 as a word 10. Now we get A is not a number. Great! But we can still get an erroneous message if B is not a number. Can you fix this? You'll need to add a new else if condition and a code block. Pause the video now and give it a try. Yes, you add else if is NaN-B console.log B is not a number. Save, refresh and enter compare 10 as a word. Now we have B is not a number. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 conditions and a catch-all else. That's about the limit for using if. There is another way of choosing a variety of options, and that's to use switch. Enter function today, const day equals new date, get day. Here we create a date object. We need to use the new keyword to create an instance of the date object. If you create a date object using no parameters, notice the empty brackets, then it will be initialized to the current date and time. A date object has several methods, and here we use the getDay method. This returns a number between 0 and 6. 0 means today is Sunday, 1 Monday, all the way up to 6 meaning the day is Saturday. Now we have a numeric value, we can use it to display a message indicating the day in English. We start with the keyword switch and then in brackets add the value we're using for the switch. Then we add case blocks, case 0 followed by colon, then one or more lines of code. Here we just have a console log message. A case block ends with break. When the processor reaches break, it jumps out of the switch statement. Can you add the remaining 6 case blocks? Pause the video and give it a try. Hopefully that wasn't too hard. Now save, refresh the browser and enter today. You get the response today is with whatever day it currently is. Try to use a switch statement when an if-else-if block has more than 3 or 4 conditions. It isn't always possible. It'll all depend on the particular problem. There's one other use of conditions that I'd like to point out, and that's the conditional operator. This is a shortcut version of an if-else statement. It's used when we're assigning a value, and it can take one of 2 different results based on a condition. An example will make it clear. Let's create a function that will return a string saying if today is a weekend day or not. We'll get the day index as before using the date object and the method getDay. Looking at the today function, we can see that a weekend day means day is either 0 or 6. We enter return followed by brackets containing a more complex condition than we've met so far. Here we have 2 conditions joined by vertical lines. The 2 vertical lines means logical OR. Here we join day double equals 0 and day double equals 6 with an OR operation. That means if either day double equals 0 or day double equals 6 is true, then the whole condition is true. Here's a table showing how it works for these 2 conditions. The column to the left shows the possible values for day double equals 0 and the top row the possible values for day double equals 6. Notice if day double equals 0 is true, row 2, and day double equals 6 is false, column 3, then the result is true. Only row 3, column 3 gives a false value when both day double equals 0 and day double equals 6 are both false. We'll meet more logical operators as the course progresses. Now we enter a question mark. The first thing after the question mark will be the return value if the condition is true. If day is equal to 0 or 6. Then we enter a colon and finally the return value if the condition is false. Day does not equal 0 or 6. Save, refresh the browser and enter weekend. The return string you get depends on the day you're watching this video. Conditions are widely used in programming to control the flow of the program. Now you know about variables, functions and conditions. And next up are arrays, a special kind of variable that can be very useful. See you after the break. This video comes from my Udemy course, The Beginner's Guide to 3D Web Game Development with ThreeJS. Get the full course by following the link at nicklever.com/courses.